So, hey, everybody, welcome back to Music Talk with Dave and Mike. I'm Dave.
Now, Mike,
And this week, we are doing a review on Transatlantic, the Absolute Universe, and
yep,
it's called Forevermore. CD cover looks like this.
yep,
Now, this CD cover, man, it's super cool. I really like it. It's got this little space thing going on. He's got a little airship here. They didn't call it a spaceship in the interviews. They called it an airship. So we'll go with airship because it's kind of like looks like a Zeppelin a little bit. And then, of course, the two CDs in there. And yes, you need two CDs on this one. It's an hour and 47 minutes long or something like that. It's ridiculously long album, man. No, it's an hour and 38 minutes. Sorry. Hour and 38 minutes.
hmm,
Comes with this little booklet. So I really like what they've done here. It's got all the words, which you will need. Picture of the band in there.
mhm,
Got some other stuff going on, a couple more pictures. Basically, um, another picture there, Mike Portnoy looking at Pete, like, what's up, man?
mhm.
Told you I wanted to play another song. And he's like, damn, it's an hour and 38 minutes. How long you want to play? Anyway, um, I mean, these guys, I'll tell you the band real quick. And I'm familiar with pretty much all of them. You got Neil Morse, that's the keyboard player. He's probably the guy that sings most of it. Then you got I've heard this guy's name a few times. Some people call him Royne, some people call him Ronnie, some people call him Royne. I call him Royne Stolt. That's what I go with.
Yeah.
He's the guitar player, also sings. Then you got Pete Gervais, which was with Marillion. He's the bass player and he sings. And then, of course, Mike Portnoy, which everybody knows Mike Portnoy.
Yeah.
So, and I'm very familiar with Pete back in the Marillion days because I loved Marillion when they had Fish singing. I didn't really follow them much when Fish left the band, but Pete's been the mainstay the whole time. Neil Morse, he's the guy from Spock's Beard, got the Neil Morse band. I've heard some of their stuff,
Uh-huh.
and then of course Portnoy, Dream Theater, Winery Dogs, and 12 other bands he's in now. Um,
I was shocked that Portnoy actually got involved with a project like this because I thought that's why he got away from Dream Theater was he wanted to get back down to basics.
Yeah, and he's been with Neil Morse for all these for a long time. I mean, the first album they put out, I want to say, was in 2002,
Hmm.
I think. And even before that, I think he might have even played on some of Neil Morse's band stuff, the Neil Morse band stuff.
Right.
So, and I agree with you on that because to me, this it's not as heavy, it's not as metal as a Dream Theater album, but I felt the same way. It's like, man, these things are like, it's like a Dream Theater album almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, way long for me.
Yeah. It had a lot of carryovers though of older classic bands. I actually heard some Sticks. I heard some Kansas in there. I heard some Yes in there. I
Yeah,
mean, it's just I shut my eyes on a couple of songs and I thought, swear to God, it was Todd Zuckerman playing drums instead of Mike Portnoy.
yeah.
Matter
I,
of fact,
I
the very beginning run on, where drums introed into the music on the very first of the album. That run that he did, that's a classic Todd Zuckerman run.
yeah, and I mean, Portnoy is a great drummer, man. I mean,
Yes.
there's no doubt about it. So, uh, he's been influenced by all the greats. Everyone that you would name, he is too. I mean, he's a big Ringo fan, big
Oh
Ringo.
yeah, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So,
And I
uh,
saw him in an argument with somebody one day about and talking about, Ringo ain't much, and he just lit into him.
yeah,
It's like,
and Mike will tell you too, man, because I mean, the guy's great. I've met him two or three times, and the he's so cool. He's a really cool cat, and he ain't afraid to tell you what he thinks by any means.
right.
Uh,
Yeah.
Real quick, we'll go through a few of these songs. I've got well, we'll go through all of them, and I've written down stuff, and it's funny all these bands that you were naming because I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna echo you on pretty much a lot of that.
Okay.
So we got Overture, and then Overture, great. It's great. It's perfect. It's a perfect example of what a prog rock album would do. And that's basically what we're looking at here is prog rock. It's more prog rock than it is prog metal, in my opinion. Uh, you got the whole instrumental thing is bringing us to the album. Uh, they start this riff in there that be long, better to be long. And that thing goes through this whole album. I mean, they play that riff or they say that over and over. And it really, actually, to me, it got a little obnoxious. I got tired of hearing it, really. And I actually felt like it was something that you would hear in Whoville from The Grinch That Stole Christmas or something. I mean, I don't know. It just reminded me of something they were singing down around the Christmas tree. I don't know. Anyway, it's a cool lick. It just got very overplayed, in my opinion. But fantastic music. So then we get to Reaching for the Sky, and to me, when it goes from the overture to Reaching for the Sky, it's exactly like Genesis does. It's the way Genesis transitions from one song to the next, which really is not really one song to the next. It's more like Suite 1 to Suite 2. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even though it is each individual songs, but it's really like one song with like nine parts, basically.
Right.
Typical prog stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it started out like Genesis, and then it gets to you got all three of them singing. There's a really cool thing in there where he talks about heart's like a whirlwind reaching for the sky. I think that's a really great line. That's a cool vocal line.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't particularly care for the vocals on this album.
No, they needed to dress them up or something, and I'm glad you brought up Genesis. They were one of the pioneers, and I'm gonna tell you the band that really knocked the prog rock album out of the park with the single theme way this is, and the way Genesis used to do, and then write songs that go with it. And that was Jethro Tull's Thick as a Brick.
Yep.
And nobody's been able to top that since that was done.
And that was one long song on both sides. Of course, back then it was what would you say the whole album in total is only like what, 45 minutes?
45, 48.
Yeah. So basically, I guess they wanted to double that with this album.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm giving them thumbs up for approaching it,
mm-hmm.
but I think they could have tailored it down. It was a little bit long, and they involved a lot of cliche sounds.
They did,
and I mean, okay, everything's been done.
Yeah,
I mean, pretty much. I understand that, but you can, and I believe they did try to put their own little twist on some of these things, but it wasn't quite enough for me.
Yeah, and as we go through here, I'll name off what I thought about each of these songs, and it's going to exactly talk about what you're saying. So after we get off of that Reaching for the Sky, we go to the next one, which is Higher Than the Morning, and that sounded like David Bowie to me. The Ziggy Stardust stuff going on. The vocals sounded like Bowie, and then we get to the Darkness in Sight, or Darkness in the Light, or what was it? Is it Darkness in the Light? Yeah, Darkness in the Light. I wrote that down wrong. So the Darkness in the Light, and then that was like Pink Floyd / Styx.
Yeah.
It was really weird because I was listening to it. I was like, and I'm like, man, I've heard that vocal thing before. And then it dawned on me that if you listen to the way JY sings Miss America on Styx,
right,
that's what that vocal sounded like to me.
Right
there. And it had a nice Pink Floyd feel to it. Again, talking about what you were saying, how they had all these little elements that, sounds that we've heard before. And I'm sure what they did, it seemed to me like they kind of going to say what you said. They had like 50 prog sounds and parts in their head, and they wanted to put every one of them on this album.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. Yeah.
So it's
and I think that's what pushed the limit to the point of there wasn't, although this was done during the COVID thing, and they even said that it interrupted the production. which means that there was time for them to think about the stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
And so no doubt they came out with the product they were looking for, but I think they could have trimmed it back.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
think I agree with you there. And I think they could have took some of these elements away.
yeah, and
And
the thing is too, what you were talking about with the vocals, it's like, okay, again, I'm gonna reference Jethro Tull, Ian Anderson. You
yeah,
listen to Thick as a Brick. The guy's not a phenomenal vocalist. He's a phenomenal artist.
right.
He knows how to use what he has.
Yeah,
And if you listen to Thick as a Brick, you have dry vocal parts, you have doubled vocal parts.
right,
Then you have all these little different effects that they put on stuff,
right.
And I didn't hear a lot of that application being done on this album for the vocals.
No, it was kind of the same all the way through. And I really wish they would have hired a real singer, honestly. Not saying these guys can't sing. I'm just saying if you had like a John Anderson type vocalist or someone like that that would actually bring in something else to
Well, maybe
another element.
Paul Rogers, I mean,
Say what?
put Paul Rogers in there.
Yeah, I don't know because Paul. I mean, to me, prog rock it's always up in a high. I always like the higher register stuff.
Right, right. Yeah, your Tommy Shaw,
Exactly.
you
Even
know,
Dennis DeYoung was up there, right?
right.
And Kansas, all those. And there's one guy out there that they could have probably brought in on some of these songs who's not really doing anything right now. And the reason I say that is we get to the next couple songs and it sounds a lot like Rush.
Yeah.
There was a couple of harder rocking ones. You got Bully. Bully sounded a lot like a Rush song. That one riff in there was a total Rush riff.
Mhm.
Uh, before we get to Bully, there was a one called Take Now My Soul, which the vocals were so off pitch in that song. I don't know if you caught that, but it was totally off. It was like, man, they
It
should have redid the vocals on that one.
it didn't it didn't do a whole lot as far as drawing my attention to it. So
And it had that
um,
that riff came back again. That belong, better to belong was in there again. So it was like, no,
but yeah, I mean, honestly, I did enjoy the album, but the way I listened to it, I started really intently listening to it. But I know how Mike Portnoy plays,
mm-hmm,
and the way it was all falling together. I'm like, okay, pretty much I've heard this before.
mm-hmm.
Is the way it seemed to me. So it more or less became background noise. I mean, I pretty much talked with my wife the 2 or 3 times that I listened to it front cover to cover.
Yeah, because it's so long too.
I mean,
I
we
mean,
both enjoyed it. I mean, she said she
yeah,
liked it. And I enjoyed it. I mean, but it wasn't something that, like, if I put Yes's Fragile album on, I'm going to sit there and intently listen to it. I
and,
don't care how many times I've heard that album. I'm still digging up new stuff out of it.
and you
Yeah.
also have, and you're also going to have like melodies in there that you can hang on to, and even
Right.
sing a little bit with. Where this is not so much. There's not a lot of melodies that you can hang on this here.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
a
But
lot of
yeah.
great guitar work though. I mean,
Oh
this
yeah.
guy, man, Roy, that guy can play, man.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
mean,
Instrumentation and everything. And I think that's what really balanced it out for me over top of the dryness of the vocal
yeah,
approach, which I don't know, could be something that they're going for. And it could be they did it for a reason, because a lot of these bands right now are coming out with that dreamy draw type vocal on their prog rock stuff. And I don't like that. I want to hear a Greg Lake, I want to hear somebody belting it out. I want
yeah.
to, yeah,
I guess the way I feel like if they had a singer who was a real singer, and I say real singer because a real singer can bring things
color.
with their vocals,
It can
where
color.
these guys are all playing something and singing, so they're not, I don't know. It's hard for me to explain it, but I know you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so then we get through Bully. That was kind of like a Rush song. Then we get to Rainbow Sky, and that was like it reminded me of Genesis and the Beatles kind of. There was a little Beatles thing going on, but it really reminded me of the song called Harold the Barrel off of Nursery Crime from Genesis. The way
Huh.
that piano does that dun, 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 and then the vocal line comes in,
Okay.
totally Harold the Barrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we get to Looking for the Light, which was totally a Styx song. I mean, that was like Styx all the way. And I was
Yeah,
surprised that, I mean, I'm not surprised you said Styx because there are moments in here where you feel like it really is Styx. You know?
I'm telling you right now, the way the organ sounded, the
Yep.
way that B3 sound they had going on,
Yep.
and Mike Portnoy back there tearing the drums up the way Zuckerman does, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it was crazy.
yeah, it was
And, you
just
know,
like
and
I
I don't
had to turn around and go, damn, you know, did they do a cover?
And you know what it did too? The last song on that CD was called "The World We Used to Know," which is kind of like a little bit sums up a lot of what we've heard already, and it brings us into the next CD. But what I was going to say was, listening to this, I went back and listened to Styx again because it got me wanting to hear some Styx, which is weird. But anyway, I don't think that John and Chuck Panozzo, I think's their names, get
Mhm.
enough credit for what they did in Styx for the
Oh,
bass and drums.
oh, John Pinozzo was a monster drummer, man. I
That
mean,
dude, man.
his only problem was, and he talked about it a lot, and I used to read about it in the old Modern Drummer magazines. He used to get them every month. And he talked about, he said that he had a timing problem
Mm,
in live situations. He had a tendency to rush his fills and stuff,
mm,
which I think is a common thing with all drummers. You know, I have a problem with it.
yeah,
You know, I mean, but what you do is you compensate when you're at the end of that run. You back yourself down and drag a beat or two and then fall right back into place, you
right.
know.
And when
And
you got
there's an art to doing that, you
it
know.
is, and working with a bass player, I mean, it was his brother. So
Knows what you're doing.
exactly, so he can actually, yep,
They make it work, you know.
yeah.
They drag and pull and push, you know.
So it was nice going back and listening to some of that old Sticks and thinking, man, because I was thinking, wow, these guys just don't get enough credit. You know,
Yeah,
they really didn't. Uh,
right. Yeah. I mean, the way John Pinozzo did Lady,
yeah,
I mean,
I mean, I was listening to I have like the greatest hits, and I also have some other ones, but I just do the greatest hits on just so I could. Uh, I was working out and I wanted to hear some Sticks, so I threw it on. And every song on there is great drums.
yeah.
Every song. It's like, man, I didn't realize how busy he was on
Hmm.
these songs, and it's no wonder he rushed it because he's doing stuff constantly. You know,
Right,
so
right. Yeah.
yeah,
And yeah, and Phil Earhart's another one, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. I
Uh,
just wanted to throw some a shout out to him because you never hear anything about Styx's drummer. You know,
no, the original, yeah, the
the
original,
original.
the
Yeah.
found members, yeah.
Yep.
And yeah,
Great
uh,
rhythm section.
I remember seeing the last concert they did, and what's his name, the bass player Pinozzo. He got up and played. He played "Lady,"
Mhm.
one other song with them.
Yeah, I've seen them a lot of times, and the last few times I've seen them live, they just kind of going through the motions. It was like they didn't even want to be there.
Huh.
Really, it was kind of weird. You know, they were opening up for Def Leppard, which anyway, that's a whole nother story about having to sit through Def Leppard.
I don't. I
Anyway,
wouldn't do that for anything in the world.
so then we get to the second CD, which is a lot of carryover from the first one. You know, you got a couple songs here. I didn't really like some of the singing again. The first song, Sun Comes Up Today. Then you got Love Made Away, which was so boring. Then you get back to Owl Howl is the name of the song, like an owl that hoots. And it was a great riff. I loved a lot of the drum and bass going on. Then you had it had that same David Bowie sound again to me.
Mhm.
And then there's a song called Belong. So I don't even have to say what the riff was, right? Belong, belong, it's like again. And then you had Lonesome Rebel
Yeah.
and Can You Feel It? Now, Can You Feel It had a really great drum bass thing going, man. The drums are kicking in that. Can You
Uh-huh.
Feel It? And then Looking for the Light reprise, which is great drum bass riff. A lot of good bass and drum riffs.
Right.
And the
Right.
greatest story never ends. That to me was Kansas and Queen. They were doing this little operatic voice thing like Queen, and the music sounded like Kansas, and it was like, is there any band that they're going to leave out? I mean, are they just going to throw every band that's ever played prog rock in this CD? I mean, honestly.
Well,
And
you
then
got
the
to
last
give it.
song is Love Made Away. So
a four-piece band. They pulled off a lot of stuff, but I think I read somewhere where they actually pulled a fifth piece in here and there.
They have there's a couple credits, but I think they're like string guys, like
Yeah,
cello.
right.
See,
To help with the keyboard situation.
you had a guy doing cello, viola, string bass, and then you had a guy doing violin and viola, and then another guy doing strings. But other than that, it was just those four that did
Yeah,
pretty much everything.
but when you got that kind of you got real strings like that, then that opens that keyboard player up to do a lot of different things. I mean, he could be hammering clavinet with his left hand and B3 with his right. I
And
mean,
I'll be honest with you, man. And speaking of B3, there was a couple times when I heard some Deep Purple going on in there too, like
yeah.
Perfect
Oh yeah,
Strangers sound and stuff. But
yeah.
Neil Morris, I mean, I'm 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 impressed at his keyboard playing. There was a lot of he got a lot of great sounds. He had that Moog sound going, you
I wonder,
know.
I wonder if he's related to Steve Morse.
I don't think
I
so
don't think
because I was
Yeah.
looking that up too, and it doesn't seem that he is.
Okay.
Unless I just didn't stumble on it, but I didn't see anywhere where I was doing any of my passing that they
Right.
were related. So I
That'd
don't
be
believe so.
yeah, that'd be unreal if he was.
Yeah, I would have to say no. So maybe
Big
somebody can
Greg,
tell us
man.
later. Somebody can prove me wrong.
Had to be building up the Dixie Dregs, man.
Well, I mean, he could go sit in with Deep Purple, you know.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
um, so yeah, I mean, overall, if you're a prog rock fan, what you're gonna have to do with this one is you're gonna really have to sit down, put the headphones on, and read the words as it goes because it's a story. Obviously, it's basically one long song. And honestly, I know I was complaining about the Alan Jackson album having 21 songs or something like that, and I thought that was long. This thing is way too long. It's an hour and 40 minutes. I don't have time to sit and listen to an hour
Yeah.
and 40 minutes.
Well, I think that what a lot of people are trying to do now, even the bigger artists, they're trying to put their goods out there in a package. And I think it's going the wrong direction, to be honest with you. But they're trying to attract the public to buy in material from you.
Yep.
And I think to me, the way they should be doing it is, I don't know, slap me and call me stupid, but I think they should bring out a 45 format.
And just put some singles out. That's kind of what Richie Kotzen does.
Put a few singles out there and let them sell. And if people really like the single, then they're going to search out your album.
Yeah, and I think that's what Richie Kotzen, man. He'll put out like a song, and then it won't even make it on the album. He'll just put a song out. He'll be like, "Hey, here's a new song." He does that all the time, and I think it's great.
The Beatles did that a couple of times, and they actually wound up putting them on later albums.
Yeah, yeah.
But they done very early in the game and put on very much later.
Mhm.
But because they wound up being such a big hit.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I just think I think everybody right now in the music world is searching and have been ever since everything went digital.
Mhm.
Ever since you got Spotify and Pandora and all that,
Yeah.
everybody is searching for a format that's going to sell. Well, it's not going to sell when you've got applications that you can pull up randomly at any time, any music. I buy it because I like maybe re-listening to the song at will or going back to a certain point in the song.
Yeah.
Or, I like, if I really like an album, I buy the vinyl
Mhm.
and put it on my turntable and really tune the system up. And I'm telling you right now, there's nothing like it. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't get any better than actually sitting in the studio.
Well, this particular one, man, I can't imagine how many records it would take to put this one on album on vinyl. It's probably a triple album.
Probably so,
I
like
mean,
George
it would have.
Harrison, all things must pass.
Yeah, I mean, there's so long that it would have to take up 3 records. And to get back to it, I'm not saying it's not a good CD. I think
Exactly.
you've got great. Everybody on here is great. The bass player is great. The drums are great. The keyboard's great. The guitar player is phenomenal. I was more impressed with him, I think, than anybody because I felt like I'm not as familiar with him as I am the other three.
Yep.
So listening to him on this album and a lot of the sounds the tones he was getting, and I mean, he was ripping, man. So it was a pleasure to hear him finally, because I've heard of him, I've heard little pieces of him, but in this context, I actually got to hear what he can do, and
Mhm.
I mean, I was really impressed with him. Um, the other three, they were all pretty much what I've heard him do on everything else, So it wasn't really anything. I wasn't getting anything I haven't heard, like you said before, on this. They
Right.
took every prog rock riff and every prog rock sound and every prog rock band that's ever existed and put them in here some kind of way. So,
Yeah. Maybe
uh,
that's the bigger art piece right there is piecing it together.
yeah. And I think too, what we're going to end up with, and I'm not sure. I mean, this is the third one of this series of these, so I don't know how long the other ones were. I can't imagine they were all this long, but
Yeah.
it seems to me like they had so much time and they just kept going and going and going. And it's like, let's add some more, let's add some more, let's add some more. And by the time you know it, it's 45 minutes. So
Well, I mean, look at the title though. I mean, Transatlantic, name of the band.
yeah.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah. I mean, you could pretty much put this on and take a flight over to England and it'll still be playing by the time you get there, you know. But anyway, uh, I think if you're a prog fan, you'll really like it. If you've heard these guys all before, you're going to hear the same stuff you've heard before.
Yeah.
There's not anything on here that really sticks out to me that I'm going to throw it on and say, man, I want to hear that song. You know, uh,
Mhm.
it's good if you're just chilling out. You want to throw something on in the background, and it's super
Yeah.
duper long, way longer than I would want it to be. But all the guys in here can play. They're great musicians. You're going to learn something. There's a lick in there you can take away. I guarantee it. If you're a musician, you'll learn something on here.
So
Um,
one
but
thing, one thing I want to add is that when you're doing these albums, it's just like, okay, thick as a brick, for example. I won't put that album on unless I can listen to it front to back.
right, yep.
Uh, this one being as long as it is, they should have divided this up into two separate albums.
And we talked about this in the past about what our problem with Prague was, is that they have too many long songs. You
Yeah,
know, and
you have to prepare yourself to sit down and listen to it.
yeah, you
It's
can't
not
just like
just random.
exactly. And it's like I don't know why prog rock feels like they have to have 20-minute songs. I don't understand it. It's like, you can take those 50 parts that you stuck into that one song and make three other songs. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to give it a 7.3. I think it's a great musicians on here. And honestly, the more I listen to the album, the better I like it. So if I listen to it a couple more times, I'll probably like it better. It's one of those things where you hear it the first time, it's kind of like a movie where you got to watch two or three times before you get everything that's going on. And that's basically what this is here. So the more I heard it, the better I liked it. The first initial listening to, I was like, it's kind of boring. I've heard all this before. Second time I started picking into it and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. Or that's a great part. So I think the more you listen to it, the more you like it.
Yeah.
Uh, and again, if you're a prog rock fan, it's not a bad one. Um, I just can't put my finger on something to say you got to listen to this song because there's not one of those on here to me. So I'm
Well,
giving it a 7.3. So
yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8.
you give it an
Uh,
8.
the reason why I'm doing that is because number one, I really like Mike Portnoy,
Yeah.
and I didn't hear him using a lot of tricks at all on the drums. There was not a lot of these stack cymbals and stuff like that happening.
No, it's really good drumming.
Yes, is wide open,
And
great sounding drums. I just got to hand it to him. Hats off. Yeah.
even when he did double bass, it wasn't like overbearing.
No,
It was perfect for the part, so yeah.
he that one double bass line. That's about the only double bass beat I can play is that do 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 do. That's
But
it.
as long as you use it in the right spot, who cares, right? Use it all you want. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up. 7-3 for me, 8-0 for Mike.
Yep.
You know, prog rock. You'll like it if you're into prog rock. If you got 2 hours to kill or more, so you'll enjoy it. So
Yeah.
you know, it's a good record.
Good cruising record. If you're
Yeah.
gonna throw it in your CD player and just prepare to drive to your next fill up.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about changing CDs out for a state or two.
There you go.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, until next time, everybody stay safe out there.
stay safe. Listen to the music. Peace out.